Okay, welcome. It's Friday night. Wait, it's What day is it? It's Monday. Okay, so this show was supposed to be on Friday, but hot off the presses, we are going to move this show to Sundays, at least for the summer. Seth's got a job. He's going to be making some greenbacks, and I want to support him so he can buy more horror movies. So, anyway, tonight, obviously, we were talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Last week, we spoke about A Nightmare on Elm Street, and we're going straight through this series. This was my very first horror film I ever saw when I was a kid, and I still love it today. So, I'm going to bring Seth right on in. Oh, hit the subscribe button if you're new. And by the way, we are like less than 75 likes on Facebook to 33,000 followers. So if you are a YouTube person, come over to Facebook and check us out. I know we already got a couple of comments from Mr. Sean Sheridan. Let me bring Seth in, and then I got to mute because my daughter is knocking on the door. She just lost a tooth. Ugh. Hi, Seth. Say hi to everybody.
Hey, what's up? Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
All right. Sorry about that. My daughter lost. Got very few baby teeth left, and she's just lost one. So, one other thing I want to add is I recalculated A Nightmare on Elm Street. Last week we said it was 91%. It's actually 95%. So, a little golf clap there for A Nightmare on Elm Street. So let's check these comments real fast from Mr. Sean Sheridan. I like it. I like this. It's a good movie, solid sequel with good leads, negative. I hate it, the dad. What? You can't hate Clu Gulliger. Come on. And the coach, yeah, fine. Snyder's kind of a dick. The dance. Come on. You're all the good things about the movie. You're hating on, and you don't like the pool scene. You don't like anything. And Freddy is scary. Yeah, he's scary in this one, which is 100% true. And I think a lot of that has to do with his makeup in this one. His makeup, it was more of a. I can't. Who's the makeup designer in this one? Do you remember his name?
Kevin Yeager.
Kevin Yeager, yeah. And Yeager wanted to go more with a witch design with the high cheekbones and sunken in eyes, and so he looks really good. And this was kind of like the start of what Freddy would, morph into, at least for the next two movies after this, because I don't know what happened when they got to 5 and the old hobo man and Freddy's dead. We'll get there. So Seth, what can you tell us about this film? What is this movie about?
What is it about?
Yeah.
So basically, Freddy tries to get inside some teenage boy without consent and take over his body and to try to get back into the real world.
What's your alternate title for this one?
I think it was Elm Street 2, Freddy Goes Woke.
Freddy Goes Woke, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what happened. Now, this was the first one I ever saw. And, like, people, one of the things, and I don't know if you've heard this at all, Seth, is people bitch about the rules. Or Freddy's not supposed to possess somebody. There were no rules at this point. There was one movie, and that was it. And, the David Chaskin, I think was his name. He didn't know what to go off of. He's probably the wrong guy to write the movie, but I think he did a fine job. And I like the idea that Freddy wanted a vessel to come to the real world, and we got some great visuals from that, like the nails coming out of the fingers, which was really cool looking, And that's something I always thought about whenever I thought about Freddy. Alex, how are you, man? Hello?
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, in the first one, when Nancy's on the phone and the tongue comes out, she was awake during that scene, right?
I believe you are correct, sir.
Right. So, but One of the things I actually really like about this movie is the fact that it is not a retread of the first film. It's a completely different story, taken in a different direction. I actually liked. I like the I kind of like the possession angle to it. I do wish there was a few more nightmare stuff in this, but I think it's a solid sequel. And
Yeah, I think that's maybe one of the biggest issues is the lack of nightmare stuff. Because really, though, the way this is shown is through Jesse's eyes more than anything else, and what's going on with him, with his
yeah,
family, and everything else. And I do think there are some really great moments in this movie.
oh yeah,
The bird scene's great. Clue Gulliger is fantastic. I don't care what anybody says. You know, what did Jesse put in that bird?
goddamn cherry bomb.
You did this. You set this up. Yeah. And I mean, maybe I'm unfairly thinking about it because this is the movie that started me with Elm Street. I just fucking loved it so much, and this was it. This is if there was no Freddy's Revenge, there'd be no Horror Syndicate. Sheep birds, yeah. Your mother thought she smelled gas. Yeah.
Kid needs a goddamn methadone clinic.
He does. He needs a goddamn methadone clinic. I really love Clue Gulliger and his relationship with Mark Patton. And if you're a fan of this movie and a fan of Mark Patton, we had the wonderful Mark Patton on the show back in 2020. It's on our YouTube channel. It's on the Facebook page. Check it out. Mark Patton's a great guy. I wish I'd like to have him on again. I think that'd be fun to not like maybe pick out one of his movies that he likes and discuss that rather than talk about his movie that he was in. So
Yeah.
let's talk about things we like, and then we'll go into dislikes and stuff like that. So for me, one of the things I really like is I like that Jesse's the new kid in town, and we start off with that because I've been there so many times in my life. I've lived in Ohio, believe it or not Springwood, but I've lived in Ohio, I've lived in Indiana, I've lived in North Carolina, Florida, Oklahoma, all over the place. I've lived so many places, California. And so I kind of could relate with Jesse in many ways. And the good thing is he finds a girl who, in my opinion, is super gorgeous in, Kim Myers. And, that's all he needs is her. And then he's got that good friend, Grady, who is kind of a meathead who they fight a couple times, which is weird. And, so you get to meet the cast of characters in this. And also I think the movie starts off with a really great dream sequence at the beginning with the bus. What do you think?
Yeah, I like I like the way I kind of like the way that the film bookends with the bus.
Yeah.
I liked Jesse's relationship with Grady. I made friends like that before, back in school, run your mouth to someone, they run it back, and
Yeah.
eventually you could become cool with each other.
Did you try to sleep with one of your friends in his room while some girl was trying to have sex with you in the cabana?
No.
And
No.
you want to sleep with me? Sorry, I love that line.
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off. I did.
Well, I think it's got a decent set of characters all around.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Patton's
Hope
actually
Lang
really
was good.
Yeah. Mark Patton was actually really good as Jesse.
Oh, he's great,
especially when he's afraid.
Well, yeah, and I think he's an underrated character in this series, and in some ways, I feel like he's an afterthought, which is a shame because like he really kind of goes through the ringer with Freddy. There's some great scenes in the movie where like the first time he's actually approached by Freddy, you've got the body, I've got the brain. What a great moment, in the movie, in my opinion. I think that's no, he's a scream queen. Jesse's definitely a scream queen. He's got that great documentary on Shudder called Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, many times. But yeah, I like, I don't know. I like Mark Patton. I've always liked him. I've always kind of looked up to him as a guy that I've really liked in these movies. And I never noticed that it was a homoerotic movie until it was pointed out to me. That must say a lot about me, though. Anyway, he is not the Corey Cunningham of Elm Street. I guess kind of in a way he is. But he didn't beat up Freddy to take his glove. Anyway. Right?
Shots
I'm
fired.
telling you, we're gonna revisit Halloween Ends at some point on Discourse. Because I know Nathan ended up loving it. And didn't I say it? I said I messaged you after seeing Halloween Ends. I was like, I bet Nate loves this movie. And he did. He does. But Nate sees things differently from the rest of us. He sees things from a filmmaker's perspective and really like digs into the behind the scenes and what the directors and stuff are thinking, which is really cool. Part of the reason why I like having him on the show. He's got a different perspective.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on. Go ahead, start on Corey. Let's talk about Jesse. Let's talk about Jesse and what a great character he turns out to be, because it's a role reversal from Nancy. He's more of the damsel in distress, where Nancy never was in the first movie, where we got Kim Myers becomes the hero, which is really great in my opinion. Lisa.
Well, I mean, his journey is a little bit different than Nancy's because Nancy and her friends, they were targeted by Freddy, to be killed, whereas Freddy wants to take over Jesse's body. So, Jesse finds himself, wanders into his sister's room. He's there when Grady gets killed. So it's much. I wouldn't necessarily call him a damsel in distress. It's just
not exactly that, but
Yeah. I mean, his situation is a little different.
But I like that, though. That's one of the nice things about it. It's like
But Nancy could beat him up. She could beat him up.
You think Nancy could take Jesse?
Yeah.
Question is, could Nancy take Lisa? I don't know. I love Nancy. I don't know. Anyway, that's way off topic. Yeah, that's one of the things. I mean, I think not damsel in distress. I mean, he's going through a lot mentally. Like you said, Freddy kind of is leading the way at some points in time. I guess when Jesse falls asleep, Freddy takes over. It's like he ends up going to the bar and seeing Coach Schneider there, and then we have the balls scene and all that stuff. And like I can't remember this. Jesse doesn't remember any of that stuff when it happens, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he suspected that he killed Snyder.
There's blood on my hands. I think I've seen this one the most out of all. Well, no, I take that back. I think part 4 is the one I've seen the most. But I don't know. What are some of the bad things?
Well, I just want to back up a little bit and get to another good thing. One of the things
we're done with that.
There's actually a couple things that I love about this movie.
Okay.
First off is the effects. The whole sequence where Freddy comes out of Jesse's body.
Oh yeah.
It looks fantastic. It just
absolutely
the way it's shot, the effects itself, just the music. And that's another thing is the score from Christopher Young is really great. Those were just a couple of good things I wanted to throw out there too.
No, you're right though. The effects are really good, but there's also parts in the movie where the effects are kind of a letdown, because I don't know if they were strapped for time, but like what's his name that plays Grady, he said that he was supposed to have this whole chest piece and he got a couple scratches and a little bit of blood. So like I would have liked to see more of that. Mark Shostrom. But overall, that scene kind of takes the cake. It's one of the best scenes. There is something I do want to talk about, but I don't want to mention it in the bad or good. It's that pool scene because I want to talk about, because I know Wes Craven didn't like that scene, but Is there anything else good? This whole movie's good to me. I like it from top to bottom, no matter what. I've never looked at it as a bad Elm Street film, and I know a lot of people do, which kind of bums me out because it's not bad. And I wonder if it's because it's a departure from the first movie. But like this is we're also in the '80s, in the middle of the '80s, when Friday the 13th is pumping out pretty much the same movie every year. And Elm Street comes along, and it's already different as it is. And then they add another movie that's kind of different from the first movie. Like you said, it's not a retread. So I
Well,
I like the direction they went in this one.
yeah, me too. Like I have a strong love for the first four movies in this
Yeah,
series.
same here.
And I always have. I've never really kind of understood some of the hate it gets. There's a couple things I don't like in this movie, but I've always personally enjoyed it, and I like it for the fact that it tries to do something different. Like, I mean, slasher sequels can get awfully redundant. I mean, I love them, I love
Right.
watching them, and I hate to throw the titles out to seem like I'm bashing them, but like that's where I give the Elm Street series some credit for the first few, especially because I mean, even with the next one, part 3, is completely different from 1 and 2 in a lot of ways.
The good thing about that one, we'll get to it, of course, is it adds to the mythology and the story without taking anything away from what came before it.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't like when people discount this one or better say it's trash or whatever, because it's not. It's a good movie, and
Yeah.
I've never understood the hate. I've always loved it. I know you do. I know Nate. I actually Jared. I think the whole discourse crew really does love this one. Out of all of them, it's kind of an underrated. You think it's underrated? Think we can say that about this?
I think so, only because I've seen a lot of. I mean, over the years, I've seen a lot of people kind of either brush it off. Maybe they don't entirely hate it, but it doesn't rank high for them. I've seen some people just completely trash it.
Well,
I mean, another thing is I love Dark Freddy. I love this scary version of Freddy. Like the worst thing that they did was they made him an anti-hero as the series went on.
Could the directors of Scream 6 do justice to New Nightmare on? I don't know. Maybe.
It's possible.
I still like the idea of Annie Muschietti doing Elm Street. I like Megan. It was fun. I haven't seen the director's cut yet. I wanted to say I'm looking for the numbers. That's the wrong notebook. For 2, because we were talking about it. We did the 5-star ratings, and 2 had 8,000 votes or rates, and 516 1-star. So really, it's not a big. It's like 6% of all the people that rated it. So it's not really a big, but like it surprisingly got more than half 5-star ratings, which is pretty cool. 58% 5-star ratings. So maybe it doesn't get the hate that I think, but still, like when we put up, like the comments that we get are so almost polarizing. It kind of hurts to see it because like we talked about Evil Dead Rise and how there is not a single film in that franchise that's weak. And I'd say the first 4 Elm Street movies are the same way. There's not a single weak link in that first 4. It's just that one is kind of the odd man out because you got Nancy's story, then Jesse's, then back to Nancy, Kristen, and it moves on to the 4th movie, which is still part of that line. So it's kind of just the odd man out, I think, and that's probably, why it gets treated the way it gets treated. Thoughts?
Yeah, I could see that because I mean 1, 3, 4, 5 kind of linear one pass on to this character stands, which is it's not that they're in a different continuity. They still exist within this continuity, with the exception of Elm Street 2, Freddy Freddy's dead, Freddy vs. Jason. They're their own individual standalone stories.
Yeah, I mean 1 through 5 is its own thing, and then or it's all the same timeline, and then beyond that, it's kind of a whatever single serving movies, if you will. Um, a great sequel, one of the darkest Freddy's in the franchise. Yes, it is, and this is also the one if that we were able to keep Robert Englund as Freddy because they had a stunt guy who came in, barely could move in the shower scene, and they saw that Freddy is the franchise in this one. I feel like they were trying to base it around the house. Whenever, because obviously Jesse moved into Nancy's house. So I wonder if they were just base it. Oh, this is the new Amityville. Could you imagine if we got like 37 Nightmare on Elm Street films that had nothing to do with Freddy? That'd be terrible.
Yeah.
A Nightmare on Elm Street werewolf or whatever,
Yeah.
So you'd probably like that one though. So let's
Amityville Moon? No, I did not like that.
No, yeah. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I expect a review on my desk by 9 p.m. this evening.
Yeah, I don't do my written reviews for movies that I don't like. I just focus on the stuff I do like.
It's surprising. Well, let me ask you this: have you seen that?
Huh?
Have you seen that Amityville?
Amityville Moon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it on your werewolf ranking?
I believe so. I think I watched it before I did that one.
Okay, I can't remember if it's on there or not. So let's do the bad things about this movie. If we can pick anything out that you didn't like. For me, honestly, there's not much. Like I said, there's a couple of visual effects shots that bother me. But other than that, this movie, what do you got? You got anything?
Oh yeah, the resolution.
Okay.
Freddy being defeated by the power of love.
It's straight up from Back to the Future. Huey Lewis in the News. It's the power of love.
That was like playing in my head as I said it.
Yeah. Save the clock tower.
It was just like random, and it was like it just kind of felt like abrupt, and it didn't feel like an earned resolution to the story. You had the whole pool party scene, and then what's her face, chased them down at the place there at the boiler room.
Yeah, Lisa, there's some good moments in there though.
Yeah, and then and then just Jesse, I love you, and then I don't know.
No, Jesse's dead. Yeah. That there's the scene where she's stabbing him in the shoulder and crying and I love you, Lisa. There's like weird things like that happen. I mean, there are some kind of weird moments in the movie, for sure. But I really like leading up to the end. Maybe I kind of agree with you on the resolution, if you will. But leading up to the end, her running through the one part where the floor falls out from underneath her, and then it pans out and it's not what happened. She's just like hallucinating the dogs with human faces, which was really a strange thing to see.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of weird stuff in that, which is something I actually like about the end. And of course, the melting effect they did on Freddy was really cool. I thought that effect shot was awesome. I really kind of enjoyed that to that point, but to your point, I do agree with you. The resolution is weak. I think part 5 was probably weaker if we're talking about the first 5. But at the same time, I don't know, 5's just kind of weaker in general. You know which one was the best though? Because even Elm Street 1's was kind of a weak, Nancy turning her back on evil and he's shit. Dream Warriors probably has the best of all. John Saxon and Craig Wasson. You know,
Yeah.
their that whole junkyard scene, and they bury Freddy. You know, holy water. This is for Nancy, for the kids, and all that stuff. And he's
Yeah.
like, it's so cool. It is a great moment. And you know, and of course, Dream Master. That showdown between the Dream Master and Freddy is fucking phenomenal. So actually, I think I like that one better.
I prefer Dream Masters because of the effects. Uh, you know,
And it's got Linnea Quigley pushing her tits out.
there's that too. But
Yes.
like all the arms coming out and just like
Yeah.
I don't know, just really cool effect sequence. Even though the whole mirror thing doesn't necessarily
Evil
make
shall
sense.
see itself and it shall die. Come on. It's good.
Yeah. But I mean, Dream Warriors had a good ending too.
Yeah. Um, Nate says, Dream Dream Child's ending is terrible. Haven't seen the Pope's Exorcist yet. Yep. They're not going to. If you want a good Freddy prequel, go check out what, Seth?
Oh, it's that movie from that artist
That
guy.
that won't make a sequel.
Confession of Fred Krueger. It's called.
Yes, Nathan Thomas Miller wrote and directed a great prequel called Confession, and you can watch it on YouTube for free. And you just got to give it a like. But yeah, check that out because it's. I mean, it's not your prototypical Freddy, you know, as a suburban dad that we love from Freddy's Dead, but you know it works. 2 and 5 are weak. Tell me why you think 2 is weak. I'm curious. Okay, so as far as any other weaknesses go, I don't think there are any glaring weaknesses. I mean, people complain about that dance, which apparently was played in gay bars throughout the entire 80s and 90s. But I like the dance. I like the glasses, the whole thing, the pop right as their mom opens the door. You know, you got to have some lighthearted moments sometimes, and because this is kind of a dark film. Over Confession is the Corey Cunningham fan film. A fan film, yeah. You need to make that movie, Nate. Confession of Corey Cunningham. So, got to find a guy that looks as weird as the guy who played Corey Cunningham. He always looked like he was smelling something bad, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like, Allison, we got to get out of Haddonfield. I don't know what he says. All right. Anything else that you can think of? I honestly can't think of anything bad because when I think about this movie, I think about all the great things. Like when Jesse goes downstairs, sees Freddy outside. You know, he can see him down in the boiler room or down in the basement. The boiler starts up or the heater starts up, and then he's holding the dad, calling his dad. Daddy can't help you now. I mean, there's a lot. And then leading into all this, I want to talk about this is the kind of a big contentious scene was the pool party scene. Okay, because Freddy on his own essentially, but I feel like he was obviously going through Jesse, right? But Freddy's out in the real world having a little pool party massacre. So wink to my friend, Drew Marvick. And I always liked that scene. And Wes Craven, he thought it was absurd. I mean, this is his character, his kind of world. But I liked it. I always liked "You're All My Children Now," and he said it doesn't make sense. I feel like it does make sense, you know, because Freddy is killing all the children. They're his children. What are your views on the pool party scene?
I mean, you could look at it as Freddy comes out and he does something horrific in front of a bunch of people to traumatize them, so then they can dream about him, and then he can get them in their dreams.
Yeah.
So you could look at it that way.
That's true. But he does take out a lot of them. And I mean, there are some things like,
I love my favorite line in this is "Help yourself, fucker."
Yeah. We just want to help yourself, fucker. Well, there's parts of it that don't make sense. Like, how's the pool start to boil? There's the flames on the side of the fences. It's like there are things that don't make sense. Like Freddy, like when Freddy came in the real world in Elm Street 1, I don't think he had these powers. So it didn't make any sense. That didn't make any sense. But I do love that scene. Nate. He puts up the smoke scene stinks. I love that scene. I forgot. I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I forgot about Jesse in school, falls asleep, and the snake's on him.
Oh,
I thought that was just a fun scene to keep setting up the relationship of Grady and
yeah.
Jesse. Yeah, I do love the pool party scene. I think it's great. It's a fun scene. It's very memorable. It's probably one of the, other than "I've got the body, you've got the brain," or you've got the body, I've got the brain" moment. I think that's one of the top moments from this movie that people remember,
Yeah.
good or bad. Um, let's talk. We mentioned it early on. Let's talk about Freddy's makeup in this one and the change of the sweater, uh, because the sweater did change from no stripes on the arms to having the stripes on the arms, and which that never bothered me one bit. Like I don't think I even noticed it till somebody pointed it out to me in the first movie. But his makeup, on the other hand, he looks way better in my opinion in this movie than in the first movie. There were things about the first movie makeup I like the ear all rotting apart and shit, and but this, like, the burns were really really good. Yeah, yes, it is the same high school. His locker was right by Danielson's, and they would have been to school at the same time. But Daniel didn't live on Elm Street. No. So anyway, but like his makeup looks so much better in my opinion, and that's not to discount what's his name, the makeup designer from Part One,
David Miller.
David Miller. Yeah, I mean he did what he did, but like Kevin Yeager took it up like a lot, and he looked so awesome. He was terrifying more so in this because they played more shadowy stuff in the first movie versus this one. Wouldn't you agree?
I would 100% agree. I think, no disrespect to Miller, but
We know he watches the show.
yeah, right. But I think Kevin Yeager is the superior makeup artist in this case. I mean, he's done a lot of great work over the years. So
Yeah.
between Chucky and everything else he's done.
You have a hard on for Cameron. Or Chucky. But yeah, Yeager. Well, Yeager was one of the first effects guys. Like his name, I actually knew because I saw it in Elm Street 2, and I saw it pop up in other things. I'm like, oh, same guy.
You know that he was the original director for Hellraiser Bloodline?
Yeah. Johnny Depp played on Nightmare on Elm Street. Did he? When? Just joking, of course. We know. So with is there anything else you want to get into before we get into the scores?
Not really. I like the film. I like the fact that it's different. The only thing I really dislike is the power of love, and that's about it.
When I saw it's the power of love. When I saw it for the first time on HBO back in the 1980s, it was like 1986 or something like that. Who's Johnny Depp? That's a good question. He's in 22 Jump Street, 23 Jump Street, something like that. But when I saw it originally, I was only 5 or 6 years old, and I still love that and they changed it in the VHS release, I think. But the song at the end was "Have you ever seen a dream walking?" Well, I did. And I remember when that came on, I was like, "Oh, that's funny," because this movie's about nightmares. I was like 6 years old realizing that, and but I was disappointed because one of the first VHS tapes I ever bought was Elm Street 2, and it was a different song, completely different song. Yeah, and it was the same thing when I got, I think, my DVD for Dream Warriors. The song that Kristen's listening to is "Into the Fire," but it was some stock music in the VHS, but on the DVD it was "Into the Fire." Yeah, well, I don't know if it's on that. The original edition, I think, is where Freddy's gloves on his left hand. He's looking out, like ripping out through the comic book page or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of my. I always thought that was pretty funny. I don't remember what the song was they replaced it with. It was some generic '80s song on the old VHS, and then they put it back in on the DVD or the Blu-ray. But then the same thing happened with like Into the Fire. And anyway, next week we are talking about Dream Warriors, everyone's favorite sequel, some people's favorite Elm Street movie, which is a sin. Just saying. I mean, how would you like it if I came in here and said Freddy's Dead was my favorite Elm Street? When we know it's Nathan Thomas Milner's, and you can quote me on that. No. All right. So every time we do one of these shows, and this like essentially this show is a ranking show. We're eventually we're gonna rank these movies. Um, your favorite, Freddy's Dead. Ooh. Um, we're, we're gonna rank all these movies based on our personal scores, and we've already done all of the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies. Check that out. We did that for Christmas, and we did all of Friday the 13th. So we just haven't done the ranking episode yet because Seth and I love to rank shit. Nathan loves to rank shit. We're rankers, plain and simple, right?
We did a 3-hour fucking ranking of like the big
All
three,
32 of them or something like that.
33 films, I think.
Was it all 33? Was it after or before Halloween Ends? I know. I knew you were talking about Dream Warriors. I was joking.
It was after Ends.
Was it after Ends? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on there. It's like 3.5 hours, and by the end, man, I think I was getting slap happy. You know, it was the silliness was happening.
Yeah.
Let's see. Dream Warriors is my favorite nightmare. 1 is the best movie. 3 is the most fun. I disagree. I don't think 3 is the most fun. I think Dream Master is the most fun.
I have a similar thing with Sean there, except for with Dream Master, where like Dream Master is like my like subjective favorite. It's the one I go to the most, but I know that the first one is the best.
Yeah,
but
I
love Dream Warriors too. Dream Warriors is really
Dream Warriors is fantastic.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it has a 92% community score, so pretty fucking high. Nate, by the way, if you didn't catch it earlier, I redid A Nightmare on Elm Street's score, and last week it was 91%. Now it's actually 95 now, and that's the final score. We're not doing this again. I've got like so much of this shit I've been doing. That's what I've been writing down because I'm trying to catch up. But anyway, so Seth and I, we have 10 categories, and we go from a score of 1 to 10 per category, and then at the end we have a percentage score. And then we put our scores together, and they have a little bit of some sex, and then they have an offspring. It's a boy. Can't beat Dockin. Excuse me, Vinnie Vincent Invasion. Love Kills is the best song in the franchise. Are you all out of gas on Freddy's Dead? What do you mean? No, out of gas. I'm never out of gas on that sucker. I love Freddy's Dead. I do love Freddy's Dead. It's the Elm Street cartoon, you know. Yeah, see, Vinnie Vincent kills. Whoa, love kills. I love that song. That song just gets me in the mood to like write some fucking gothic stuff. Anyway, so Seth, we've got your score, and very bit high score for this one, 89%.
Yeah. Damn it, I did this a while ago, and I can't remember what I did for each category.
Oh, Freddy's Revenge. I think we are just about out, Nate, unless you have some pearls of wisdom you'd like to share with us. I mean, you could look at the messenger that we've got to look it up, and stop worrying about Lyme disease and worry about the show. Come on.
I got my notebooks here. Yeah, I'll have to take a look. Yeah, so overall, I think it's a highly entertaining movie. I think the story was pretty good. The direction was pretty good. I love the score for the movie.
You are a score whore.
Yes. The effects are really solid. I honestly don't remember what I kind of ranked lower on, because I had a couple for it to be 89. But I love most everything about this movie. I think it's well done. I appreciate it for being different. I think it's got an interesting premise, great effects, and Darker Freddy. I love Darker Freddy. If they ever do that, I know it's a bad word, but that reboot word there. If they ever do one, they got to do Dark Freddy. There's got to be some sort of sadistic humor, of course, but
Yeah.
Keep it to the level of 1 and 2. That'd be ideal. But yeah, I think this is a really solid sequel. I love the first 4 of these films.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It is solid, kind of like, and yeah, Nate mentions that poster. I didn't see this poster until I got a certain box set. I can't remember which one it was because the VHS art was like, him ripping out of the fire or whatever it was, in the blue and all that shit. But I really like this poster.
It is cool.
Now, sons. But Dad, I was just going out for no. So I'm tougher on movies. We've already talked about that, and it's not that it's bad or anything like that. Oh yeah, that's right. Jacques Haitkin, is that how you say it? Passed away recently. Good cinematographer. I gave it a 71%.
Holy wow.
Yeah, I know it's so different from yours. But the thing is, like, I don't hate this movie at all. And it's not that it's bad. Like I gave the effects a little lower score because of some of the things. And then, like, after I gave the score, I'm like, I always forget about that end effect with the goddamn. But then at the same time, the dog faces almost balance that out. It's like for every great effect, they have a bad effect. In this movie, but Freddy's makeup's fantastic in this. And look at the Friday the 13th scores. First of all, they're way lower than any of the. Like this would be maybe top 3 Friday the 13th that some of our ratings. So I think 71's okay, but we met in the middle, 80%, not bad, right, not bad. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's a decent score. What? All I can see is Princess Leia going, what? I'm gonna get the weak effects for I don't know. I'm tough on movies, man. Just
what Ray needs is a goddamn methadone clinic.
Yeah. Really, I need an enema. Just like this town. But I love this movie. I like. Where's my book? Here, let me look. Let's see. I gave the writing a 6. The kills are what really did it for me because the kills weren't that great in this one, and that's kind of a thing for some of the Freddy movies. Like Greta's kill in 5 was terrible. Mark's kill was bad. I think all of them except for Dan's were bad, those were the only other 2. And I gave the kills in that a lower score. So anyway, this also is not my lowest score. I did give Freddy's Dead a higher score. Freddy's Dead got 92.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm joking. Oh man, I can see the fire in your eyes. I haven't even counted it up. Hold on, let me look.
It's not funny.
It's 53. Okay. Spoiler alert for five weeks from now.
I got my scores here.
Ray always has a stick up his ass. Yeah. Oh man. Freddy's Revenge reminds me of Hideaway by Dean Koontz being connected to a killer and becoming them. Yes. It was. I don't know that story, but yeah, that's Seth's a Dean Koontz guy. 60. See, I'm not that bad. Yeah, you're right, Nate. I mean, when you're right, you're right. I gave Elm Street 1 a 97%. Do you remember what you gave Elm Street 1?
I don't. I just had it on my phone.
Son of a bitch. I don't remember either. We'll have to consult the tape. And then next week is going to be in the 90s as well. 17, 26, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, 90. Ooh, 95%. Guess which one that is?
Dream Master.
That's right. Underrated. So anyway, yeah, and then we're talking about the community score, and the communities, you guys like it better than I do apparently. So 83% from the Horror Syndicate community, and that the cool thing about that is the amount of people that voted. This was the one that got the most ratings out of all the movies. New Nightmare had 6,966. This had 8,109 with 4,700 5 stars and only 516 1 stars. So came out to 83%. Pretty good. Actually, the lowest Elm Street score is 41%. But I don't want to spoil what that one is. You could all probably guess which one that is.
I got my score here for Wes Craven's Old Nightmare. I gave it a 94%.
Oh, see? You're talking about me. That's a 97 and above. Come on. He owns me. Yes, I would. He owns me. So we also got to do Freddy versus Jason as well. By the way, that scene in the cabana, we didn't even get into that. I forgot. I wanted to talk about that scene in the cabana. And I know you can't answer this, but I'll answer this. How badly did you want to see Kim Myers' boobs?
Very.
Yeah, me too. Because I don't know. And she, like a fine wine, aged beautifully. Like I saw in that documentary Scream Queen. She in the interview, she is gorgeous. Holy cow! Talk about somebody who aged up really well.
I mean, she looked way better in Hellraiser Bloodline.
Oh yeah. And that was only 8-9 years later.
Yeah.
Damn, sorry I missed tonight. Nightmare 2 suffered from the eagerness of Bob Shea. Okay, that's true. It took Freddy out of the dream world, and he looked out of place in most parts, plus a weak ending. Movie's still watchable. It's more than watchable. Dustin Miller gives it a B-. I don't like using the grading scale like that. I know some people do, and that's fine. But B- is a pretty good score, I think. A good grade, if you will, because that's still in the 80s, I say. Right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. Anyway, yeah. So next time, I didn't get the picture ready, but we are talking about Dream Warriors. So tell all your friends, tell all your peeps. We'll be doing that next Sunday. So our new night for this show is Sundays because Seth is a drive-in kind of guy, and he's going to be manning the drive-in, or what do you do there? I don't even know.
I work in the kitchen. I do the fire later stuff, but it's only supposed to be until I think I'm only doing it until probably sometime in like early June because that's when
really?
that's when all the college kids will be back. So they'll be fully staffed then. Just right now they have like no one, so because I told them a couple years ago that I was done, but I'd help out if they needed me. And usually it's like the opening and ending of the seasons. That's when they'll need my help.
Well, I mean, I figure we'll just keep this show on Sundays for the summer, and then at least while Joe Bob's on, because I don't want to miss Joe Bob. And then and then we'll go back to Fridays if we need to. Nathan says, do you all believe Wes had a Freddy effect in the real world too? He certainly does in Warriors.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, there was that scene in the first Elm Street where Nancy was on the phone and the tongue comes out of the phone. She was awake during that scene.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, even watching even with the whole thing with Rod with the
noose.
Yeah, with the way the bed sheets formed a noose. I don't know. The rules weren't always like super duper clear.
No, because like I guess in the first movie they tried to make it look like suicides, which Tina's obviously wasn't made to look like a suicide. And Glenn's is no way. There's no way he could have done that himself. Can you imagine? So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna kill my make some Glenn soup. When I was a kid, I thought
goddamn cherry bomb.
I thought that shit. I thought it was diarrhea. Like I literally thought that was poop because the screen was so dark back in the old days. It didn't look red at all. But yeah, like. Well, and then it doesn't help that Nancy calls him shit. I was like, is he a poop monster? I was 5. Give me a break, you know? But
like I said, I literally watched a werewolf movie where there was like a whole sequence where the werewolves like shit on someone's face.
What movie's that?
It's called Werewolf in England. There was like this whole run-in joke in it where these people were trying to hide from the werewolves, and the werewolves had explosive diarrhea. It was gross. It was supposed to be funny, I think.
Where's that rank on your list?
Pretty low.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I was gonna say we didn't get like concrete rules until probably the 3rd movie. I mean, I think the first one they say if he kills you in your dream, you're dead in real life. But like, you know, like in part 4, for instance, Kincaid, he dies. It looks like he has a heart attack, really, because you know Freddy just stabs him in the real world. I mean, in the dream world, and then he's like, oh, you know, he's like grasping his chest, which makes it. And Joey somehow gets trapped under his waterbed, which is completely illogical. You know, and then Kristen's room burns up, which makes sense because she, you know, was smoking in bed and shit.
Well, I mean, I still think that you could totally look at like, especially the. You know, you could look at the whole thing with Freddy wanting to use Jesse's body and with the whole pool party scene as a way for Freddy to kind of like spread his fear into other young people in that town, so we can go beyond his revenge mission. You could look at it that way.
In a way, you don't get a payoff for that. You know, like. What was the fallout to all of that? Because the next day or whenever it was, Jesse, he's got, you know, his arms are wrapped up and stuff at the end, and you know he's acting like he won something. Like, how many kids had Freddy killed? You know, and they never really mentioned that. And I would have loved to know the fallout and how many years after does Dream Warriors take place? Were some of those kids the older brother or sister of some of the Dream Warriors? You know, I don't know. I've always had questions about that, though. And Nate's right. Yeah, I don't think what you said about Wes's rules. They're kind of flimsy as it is anyway. Because I think it kind of changes movie to movie. Changes movie to movie anyway. Yeah, and yeah, 2 doesn't deserve to get the shit it gets. I loved Us, unless you're talking about the United States of America, because I love that too. I think part 2 is probably one that gets shit compared to 1, 3, and 4 because Shoulder was not the yeah, that's true, of the 4 directors, and he seemed very uninterested. Really, didn't he say he didn't even watch it and he wasn't a fan of it? Yeah, I think that's what he said in Never Sleep Again. Something about I was never a big fan of the first one. He's a weird guy too, Jack Shoulder. And plus, he was what was he doing? Like making trailers or something like that beforehand.
Well, he directed a movie for them before too, Alone in the Dark,
which isn't a bad movie though. Like I like that movie. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Martin Landau, Jack Palance, and somebody else. I can't remember who the other person. It's not bad. Scream Factory has it. I liked it. Not bad. You know. There's a death scene under a bed. And anyway, Martin Landau is super creepy in that movie. He didn't like the original. I think he was. Oh, okay. Well, his movie didn't do what Wes's movie did either, so that's probably a problem. Yeah, he didn't like the. How could you not like the original Elm Street movie? Like seriously. Like we had, let me look again on that one. 74 people gave it a 1-star rating out of 4,687. It's like, who the fuck? Like, it's like that and Jaws is another one. 90 people out of 4700 gave it a 1 star. Who the fuck does that? You ruined Jaws' score. Jaws is at 95% because of that shit. Jaws is almost a 100% movie, if not 100%. Yeah, well, they wanted to get it out right away. I mean, I wonder though, like, was New Line? I know they wanted to come back and make more money for sure, but like, you know, there was a lot of success in that time frame for horror movies. 84, we've talked about it before. 84 is one of the biggest years in horror. 85 as well, you know, with gems like Silver Bullet, right?
Yeah.
Return of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, you know.
But at the same time, like New Line Cinema was a super, you know,
Indie.
low budget studio that was barely a studio. You know, Rob Shea was ambitious, trying to get it off the ground. You know, and I believe they even mentioned in that documentary that even though it was a success with all the, you know, all the money that they had to pay back to make it, they didn't earn a profit. But because it was a success, you know, he knew that you make more and then you can make a profit, and it worked in the long run because New Line Cinema was built because of
It's the house
the
of
Nightmare
Freddy
on Elm
built.
Street.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And you know,
right.
eventually it got acquired by Warner Brothers and all that, but it was a independent studio, independently run. You know, they were, you know, David Shea and all them, they were kind of cutting their teeth trying to succeed in the business. And yeah, Reefer Madness.
Yeah, and didn't they get like Pink Flamingos or something like that as well?
Yeah.
Can't remember. But yeah, they were distributing older IPs, and then, you know, they made Alone in the Dark, which I like that movie overall. It's not that bad. Nate, what did you think? I know you've seen it. And then, you know, of course, Elm Street came along. And if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, we wouldn't have the current Lord of the Rings as it is if not for Freddy. So, because Peter Jackson even wrote an Elm Street film, right? Just never got
Yeah,
made.
he wrote a script.
Yep. So anyway, beats Friday to the hockey mask. So yeah. Anyway, next week we are doing a show on Dream Warriors. So please come back next Sunday, or this Sunday, I guess, or whatever it is. If you're in the St. Louis area, Free Comic Book Day is Saturday. I'll be at Fantasy Shop in St. Charles, Missouri, signing comics. Yeah, I do that. I'm also super awkward. Oh my God, there's a movie called Rape Squad. Somebody should remake that now with that same title. See how that goes.
Yeah, right.
It wouldn't fly. And coming up just 2 days from now, we are doing a movie that I've never seen. I don't believe Seth has ever seen. Nate has raved about The Devil's Candy, which is available on Tubi. Have you gotten a chance to watch this yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it tomorrow. So it's pretty fresh in my head. Hmm? What?
I forgot all about it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get in. I have to get it tomorrow.
Yeah,
I've been marathoning Castle Rock. So
I know. Yeah, you told me that yesterday, which is good. That's a good show.
Yeah.
Do you still want to look at my comic script? Did I want to?
I think you mentioned it before.
Sure.
Yeah.
I forgot. I don't. I'm perplexed that they made a movie called Rape Squad. Yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, sure. Send it to the Horror Syndicate. We have a Gmail if you want to send it that way. It's just the Horror Syndicate at Gmail. Yeah, but remember, Devil's Candy is coming up on Wednesday at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern time. Seth, do you have any final thoughts on one of the best from '85?
My final thoughts are I don't understand the sort of negative the negativity that some have with it, but I've always personally enjoyed it, and I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. So
Yeah, I don't even understand this fucking house in this image. Like, this is from HBO Max. I stole it. And what is this house?
Yeah, that's on that. It's on this VHS. You know, Freddy doesn't really get revenge in the movie either. I just want to point that out. So
That's
it's
true.
kind of like a misleading title, and I feel like someone should probably sue Warner Brothers for false advertisement because Freddy doesn't get revenge.
And it is part 3, Freddy. It's not the right look for Freddy either. It's come on, get your shit together. You know, we should have Freddy with his fucking trench coat on from that I just found out about a couple weeks ago. Which is
on the menu on the DVD and the Blu-ray for Elm Street 4. The music for the main menu is like some of the score from New Nightmare.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I really hate what they did to the Elm Street, like the box arts, for the VHSs and then eventually the DVDs.
It could be a lot worse though, because I have all the Howlin' movies DVD, and literally DVD for the Howlin' 4, all the images on the back are from part 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have that too. But there's this.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. I think I'm pretty sure I have that. The Howling 4, is it?
Yeah, the Howling 4, the original Nightmare.
That one.
Yep. On the back, they're all from
look at the baby.
3.
Look at the baby.
Yep.
Yep. Oh man, I never want to see that again. I do need a Scream Factory copy of it though. Yeah. So anyway, I think we're gonna peace out of here. My final thoughts are: first horror movie I ever saw. I love it. I absolutely love this one. Tales from the Crypt is okay. Yeah, it's okay. They freaking released the England trilogy with Jackie Earle. Yeah. I know. I hate that. I've seen it, like, well, even just the font from the first from the remake, when they put that on the box art for any of the old ones, it pisses me off, because Elm Street, that's one of the cool things, is they got that classic font that you see on like, I think it's on here, that classic. It's so cool looking, and then they released the remake. Well, come on, get out of here with that noise.
Well, it's like, remember they put out a Friday the 13th Blu-ray of the first 1980 movie, but they had like Jason from like the
I have
remake
that
on the cover.
Yeah, I have that because I bought it. It was $10, and I've never opened it. Because he's got a jacket on. But I was like, oh, cool! They re-released the remake, and then I turn it around, and it's got the pictures from the first movie, and then of course the cherry on top is the inside is the fucking same case that I already have. Jerks! False advertising. That's what I need, is 1,000 copies of this first Friday the 13th. I think what needs to happen, and it probably won't happen, is somebody needs to release a box set. That sucks that he signed it, Jagger, of Elm Street with all individual cases, because I'm an individual case kind of guy. I picked the wrong one, but like that, and then have reverse art with the art of Nathan Thomas Milner. What do you think?
100%, I agree. I would pay money for that.
By the way, Nate, did you ever see this? That's his art.
What's that DVD?
It's The Life and Crimes of Fred Krueger, which is the special edition disc from that box set, the Blu-ray box set that was released.
Oh.
But somebody stole his art. And what's new though? Yeah. Well, this isn't a bootleg. This is the actual disc that I have. It's just somebody made a slip with your art on it. There's that, and yeah. So, but I prefer your art. Actually, I have a print I legally bought from you of this in my hallway in a frame. So I feel a little bit better about that. Anyway, we're going to wrap up the show for the night. Nate, cannot wait to talk to you on Wednesday about good old well, whatever. What is it called? Devil's Candy. I keep wanting
Yeah.
to call it The Devil's Rain, which is a good movie that's currently on Shudder. If you haven't seen it, it's from like 1975. It's worth checking out. But the cool thing about it is William Shatner's in it, and they had to take a cast of his face, and because there's a scene where his eyes are out, and it's the cast they used for the Don Post mask apparently. So the Halloween mask, or the Star Trek mask. So yeah, yes, that's what these are. All the Roy Burns. I don't understand what they're fucking doing. Let's not hire artists. Let's hire some digital asshole to throw some shit together who's never seen these movies. I hope you guys are as blown away by Devil's Rain as I was. I like Devil's Rain. It's not that bad. Ernest Borgnine's in it. Tom Skerritt. You know, it's a pretty decent movie. William Shatner, the Chat man. But yeah, Devil's Candy. I'm looking forward to watching tomorrow, and being fathers with daughters. Yes, fine.
It's talking about Devil's Candy.
I'm now I'm kind of worried like about watching that. Thanks, Nate. Anyway, we will see you guys on Wednesday with the Horse and Naked Discourse. Should be the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Four horsemen of the syndicate, whatever. Talking about the Devil's Candy, and we've got some other great episodes coming up. On the 10th, following Wednesday, we are doing a movie that I absolutely love called The Ninth Gate, starring a guy that was in A Nightmare on Elm Street as Glenn. Not a bad gig. He got sucked into a bed. And then Nate will be back the following week, and I've got a few other movies I've added to the list because he's like, oh, I'd love to talk about Hellbound Hellraiser. It's like, push to the front of the list. Push to the front of the list. So,
yes.
I like tense movies, so I'm looking for it. And plus, Ethan Embry's in this one, right, Mark? From Empire Records. It's Rex Manning Day. That guy looks like the guy from... Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Anyway, Seth, have a great night. And I've been Razor, and this has been fun. Goodbye.